The Year of Sanderson 2023. Now, you may have heard of this prolific fantasy and science fiction writer by the name of Brandon Sanderson. If you haven't, I assume the architecture of your home is rather solid, dense, and rock-like. Brandon Sanderson, hence known as Brando Sando or Brandy Sandy to all Australians, but I can coin Brandy Sandy back to @Jodey Reads on TikTok. Brandy, on the 1st of March 2022, released an apology on YouTube for keeping a tremendous secret that he'd written 5 extra novels during the pandemic. I always wanted talking about the Year of Sanderson to be one of the first videos on this channel, and I was originally going to keep up to date with everything, read everything immediately as it came out, but being from Australia, it was months after everyone else when I got the boxes, and I just let them stack up. But we're doing this now, so here we go. I would love to start by talking about the Kickstarter and go into a little detail about each novel. If you're a fan or plainly curious, you can watch this instead of over 15 hours of content on Sando's YouTube. For those who saw his apology video, I'm sure you were like me in thinking, what's going on? What's that tiny little twitch beside your mouth, Sandy? Oh, it's the beginning of a humongous grin as you slap 5 entire complete novels down on the table. Emails were sent to booktubers with the vague premise that you may want to pay attention to Sandy's channel. So not even minutes after the release, there were reaction videos to the content, drumming up immediate fanfare from the community. One of the novels is a children's book, so that was set aside, but is now being brought out now. The 4 remaining were then put on the crowdfunding platform Kickstarter. And surprise, 4 secret novels by Brandon Sanderson since became the most funded Kickstarter project ever. Fastest to reach 10 million, most funded in 24 hours, ending on a total of $41,754,153, which is $62,245,295 Australian and 86 cents. Now, here's why you shouldn't fret if you weren't a backer of the project. Sando made sure his works were accessible with a quarterly ebook pledge at $53, $40 American, but if you wanted the premium hardcovers, they were $160 American, $213 Australian. But then, as an international buyer, shipping was $187 USD, which brought the total to $400 Australian, $100 per book. I honestly had to get creative with gathering $400 towards 4 books in a single month, and ended up going halves in the all formats pledge, which included the audiobooks, with my friend and ex-boyfriend who introduced me to Sandy. I also found it interesting that every pledge came with the ebook. Sandy said that he's long held the belief that for ages, people will buy hardcovers if you bundle them with the ebook, and the results are showing this to be true. Sandy also clearly stated that he would try his best to have at least the ebooks and the audiobooks, his biggest seller, sometime released within the same month as the Kickstarter was, which happened and meant that by the time the shipments from America came to me, the paperbacks were nearly out. But I really respect how he did it outside of Amazon and away from the largest distributor of books, going directly to his market. So he's the author, self-published, and his own distributor. He does have a team working for him though, and yet he's still got a publishing deal with his traditional publishers, Tor, but without them having the first rights to sale. So he's self-published and traditionally published the same books at the same time, distributed them himself, and also got them into bookstores and Amazon, which is insane, and I don't think it has ever been done before. In a conversation recently with Daniel Greene, Sanderson talks about his fears for the publishing industry and gives the advice that you should never give away your special edition publishing rights.
I have recommended, this is my recommendation to all authors right now, do not sell the publisher when you sell your publishing rights, your leather-bound rights, your special edition rights.
Really? Why specifically that?
Don't, because I see this as the vinyl records of the publishing industry. We call them kind of premium edition rights, but we put in our contracts as like a price point this much more than the normal price point you can't sell, books at and things like this. I recommend no author sell those rights to any publisher. The main reason being that if you need to use New York and Amazon and things as a loss leader to get your name out there, and if royalties come way down, and if your book starts selling for $1, because everyone who is in charge devalues books to that point, the way you will make a living is by making a really nice edition and buying like 500 copies of them. And it doesn't take that many copies of a $100 book, signed, done very nicely by you, numbered and sent out, to turn into a livable wage. And I recommend that authors look to try to do this. Now, this might not work. I might be completely wrong. Right, you might have to have a certain threshold before that becomes economically feasible to you. But I wish publishing were more aware of this, and I wish authors were a little more aware of this, and I wish more of them were kind of doing their own. They don't have to be shipping them, but going to premium edition publishers and doing their own premium editions that they push really hard, and be able to buy them at cost and sell them at conventions or on your website.
I'm happy to say, as someone who every week in Fantasy News is talking about the latest premium editions, it is a thriving thing right now.
Yes, it is. It's been a hole in the market, and I think maybe me doing some things that I've done recently have made a lot of people pay attention.
Yes.
I've told you the story, haven't I? When I asked Tor about leatherbounds for my books, for Mistborn and stuff, they're like, they don't make money. I'm like, well, can I have them back? They gave them to me for free. Giving me for free. Yep, the most they'd ever been able to sell of a leatherbound before that time was 250 copies of A Wheel of Time, and I sold 50,000.
Okay, so a little bit of an advantage. And there's also a thriving market of companies now who are trying to help authors get this done. I feel like largely, not to overstate, authors using Kickstarter for a long time, but following the footsteps you laid down of here's how to do a special edition.
Yeah, do a special edition. You do want to not have to ship them all yourself if you're going to be super successful. But even if you can get those 1,000 fans to all buy your special edition, and you can make $50, let's say, on those, then that's your livable wage.
Which I thought was very interesting. This whole video conversation was fascinating, and I recommend checking it out. If you are interested in being an author, I also strongly advise watching Brandy's free-to-watch writing lectures. Sandy dubbed 2023 the year of Sanderson. He wanted to create something that was almost like an exclusive book club, a yearly subscription with a book bundle sent each quarter. And there are those who wanted absolutely no spoilers, no blurbs, no titles, and to completely go in blind, singularly knowing that these were Brandon Sanderson novels. The other thing he did and proposed was that for the other 8 months of the year, he had created swag boxes, each with a different theme, including your regular novelties, but at nearly $50 Australian for shipping per box, it was too much to even consider. When you add the books, and don't forget the individual shipping, or that the website advertises it all in USD, it's $1,000 for everything, which is the price of my car. But with the problems of COVID still making it difficult, licensing, taxes, and storage, and customs, that was the reality of it. Removing expectations, however, allowed Sando to do new things. He knew that his largest series would be his legacy, but he wanted these novels to be the spice of his career, especially Secret Project 1, Tress of the Emerald Sea, which has led him to do interesting new world building. It's set on a planet with many moons that drop spores and an ocean that's green but isn't wet. It started as a gift to his wife. However, she said that he had to share it because she wanted people to talk about it with. It's said that Tress is modelled after her and that he finds a lot of himself in Charlie. I've been waiting for Sando to step out a bit, dying for more of a romance subplot in his novels, because he writes characters and their relationships with one another so well. Tress of the Emerald Sea is completely funny but beautiful prose, written as a fairy tale, taking inspiration from The Princess Bride, and is like a mixture of Terry Pratchett and J.K. Rowling in her earlier work. So it's no surprise that we find that it is narrated by Hoyt, who is a world hopper appearing in many of Sando's novels, such as the Stormlight Archive, where he is the King's Court jester named Wit, and shows of his impressive and often hilarious relationship with words. And now, here we've been blessed with an entire novel narrated in that whimsical fashion. It's a funny, fluffy, and sweet story about a woman who collects cups and a guy who likes stories, and their comfortable, growing love for one another that's like a good pair of gloves. First look at Secret Project number 2, opening to the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. Part 1, opening line. Seriously, fish suck. The main character remembers nothing of their identity except for a distinct hatred of fish, which perhaps explains the spore C in book 1. This opening line was, however, later changed to I came alert, which fish sucks is definitely better, but we'll allow it. It's the only book not set in the Cosmere and follows the main character with no memory, but he seems to be from a future dimension, traveling to another dimension that resembles medieval England. And he's wanted dead. It's Jason Bourne trapped in the past with a little bit of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Considering this is a brief book review, I'd like to mention that the protag seems to be a Yelp reviewer, rating things out of 5 stars, and has rated 2 trees, thatched roofs, people's appearances, a smile, and an untalkative girl. First look at secret novel number 3, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. This is Sandy's favourite and another novel narrated by Hoyt, but in a different style to the first book. The story takes place in a wondrous, colourful world following Painter, a guy who paints nightmares, turning them into what he paints, most commonly bamboo, and Yumi, a religious deity who can summon spirits, but is also a girl who wants a normal life. We also get the perspective of a coat rack. First look at secret novel number 4, The Sunlit Man, which is most like his other novels and is the most influential to the Cosmere. This book was dedicated to his fans, which I think is really quite sweet. So that is everything. Thank you so much for having this discussion with me about what Sando's doing within the publishing industry, as well as like the first look at his 4 books. Thank you so much. I will see you on the 1st of next month.